Okay, let's go ahead and get started. This is the Cosmos SDK Community Dev Call. This is a monthly call for Cosmos SDK users. This is the July edition. We provide these calls at the end of each month to provide an update on Cosmos SDK releases, new features in development, and an opportunity for Cosmos SDK community members to ask questions. And last month we did a demo of the chain upgrade process using in-place store migrations and Cosmo Visor. And hopefully in the future, we'll have more demos. I don't have anything prepared today, but if you have any ideas about what you would like to learn, specifically if there's a feature or something that you'd like to see demoed. These calls are relatively brief, so keep that in mind when making requests, but we would love to hear from community members what they would like to see on these calls moving forward, in addition to providing a quick overview of updates on releases. And this call is broken up into two pieces. The first half of the call is focused on the Regen Network Engineering team providing an update. That's what I'll be doing today. And the second half of the call is an opportunity to have an open discussion, to ask questions about either what we went over in the slides or anything related to the Cosmos SDK for that matter. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get started. Here is the agenda for today. We'll be talking about the 4.2.7 release, as well as the 4.3 RC releases. There have been a couple more RC releases this month. Last month, I talked about the RC0 release, the first RC release for the up-and-coming 4.3 version of the Cosmos SDK. We're not quite there yet. Hang tight. We've got a couple more RC releases this month, and we're working on getting another one out, which will hopefully be the final RC release. But yeah, we'll talk about that a little bit more in the upcoming slides. Also, we're planning on doing an official V1.0 release of Cosmo Visor. Actually, recently we're talking about doing a V01 release of Cosmo Visor for the current version that's available, and then adding a new release for V1.0, which will have a couple features that we'll talk about here soon as well. Also, we'll talk about what's next in terms of Cosmos SDK development and what's on our roadmap, what are we prioritizing, and then we'll have opportunity, as I said, to have an open discussion and answer any questions that the community members have. Okay, so for the 4.2.7 release, this went out on July 9th. A couple improvements here: return base apps trace value for logging error stack traces, as well as check if chain ID is blank before verifying signatures in the multi-sign and error. And then several fixes as well for this release. Fix IBC transfer ACK success event as it was initially emitting an opposite value. Use correct Prometheus format for IBC metric labels, and fix issue with key parse command freezing, and then also fixing a keyring K-wallet backend issue when using with an empty wallet. Just a few minor releases. If you're interested in finding out more or details, check out the milestone on Cosmos SDK repository, or the release notes will also have a link to the milestone and more information there. The 4.3.0 releases, release candidate releases. 4.3.0 RC1 went out July 14th. As I mentioned, the RC0 was the focus of the last call. We went over the 4.3 release. That video is recorded if you want to go check it out. But yeah, this month we have these two release candidates that went out. RC1, July 14th. It added migration to prune balances with 0 coins. and then an error on transaction multi-sign command if the chain ID is blank. Also, we rolled back a change that we made for the 4.3 release, which was erroring if the minimum gas price was not set in the application configuration file, in order to prevent any unfortunate circumstances if validators are using Cosmo Visor or expecting an automatic upgrade or things along those lines. We actually reverted this back or rolled it back to a warning rather than an error, but that is something that we will re-implement for the next release. So keep that in mind. This is kind of like a warning there in terms of we would like to require the minimum gas price set in the configuration file. So next we've got the 4.3 RC2 release. This went out July 19th. This fixed an issue where the services were being blocked by the gRPC web server. So starting gRPC web server in a Go routine in order to avoid those blockage issues. So a couple RC releases for the 4.3 release, and then one more RC release coming out here within the next day or so. This one was focused on some improvements. We added SecP 256R1 in the 4.3 release, and there was a couple things that needed to be verified and checked here with this implementation. And so we added support for the output flag on transaction commands, emitting events for transaction signature and sequence, so clients can now query transactions by signature, and then some other fixes and improvements related to the recently added support for ECDSA SecP 256R1 signing. So, oh yeah, and also there was a new issue that came in today around possibility of having an issue around creating IBC channels after running an on-chain upgrade. So we're currently investigating that and hopefully get that resolved if it is an issue and include it in this next RC. If it's not an issue, we'll have that RC out sooner than later. And then we can move on to the official release of 4.3 hopefully. And yeah, thank you all for your patience, but one more RC release on its way. So the next item here is the Cosmo Visor v1.0. I should have said v0.1 and v1.0. So we're planning on breaking up Cosmo Visor into a couple releases here soon. The current version on master will add a backup option for Cosmo Visor. Currently, there have been some edge cases where there's a race condition or something like that. And this is based on how Cosmo Visor is currently reading from the logs from STD out. So Cosmo Visor v0.1 will include the current implementation of reading from the logs. And it will also add the backup option for Cosmo Visor. And then Cosmo Visor v1.0 is actually going to switch and update to using File Watcher rather than STD out. So Cosmo Visor v0.1 will provide support for 4.2 chains and earlier, and then 4.3 chains should be using Cosmo Visor v1.0 moving forward. Both will have the backup option, and you can expect to see those releases out here soon as well. So updates on, oh, and Cosmo Visor is it's a package within the Cosmos SDK, which is why I'm presenting on that here. So, and it's a process manager for application binaries. We went over it in the last month's call, provided actually a demo of using Cosmo Visor with the new in-place store migrations available in the 4.3 release. So if you're interested in learning about Cosmo Visor and the in-place store migrations, go ahead and check out that video. It's available on the Regen Network's YouTube channel. So what's next? So there is a working group, and we're meeting with various community stakeholders and projects like ICF, and Tendermint team and other leaders from other Cosmos ecosystem projects discussing the roadmap moving forward, specifically focusing in on the needs of Cosmos Hub for this next release, the needs for Cosmos Hub to support Gravity Bridge. So we have a few items here in terms of high priority items that we want to include. We're working on a new release strategy to allow for the addition of new features and everything still into the Cosmos SDK, but which would not affect this 4.4 release. So we're working on updating our processes around managing the Git flow. So here are the items, that are currently being prioritized and we see as required for Cosmos Hub to support Gravity Bridge. The first two items are the required items. Meta transactions, transaction tips. This is to support multi-denom fees along the lines of Ethereum meta transactions. So we would be adding a new auxiliary sign mode that would allow a signer to sign the body and to add a tip. This would solve two problems. The ability for somebody to pay for transactions in a denom supported by a chain that they are not making the transaction on. And then also preventing the need for signers to sign multiple times on transactions with multiple signers. So only the final signer paying the fee needs to know about the other signers. This new auxiliary sign mode, along with the existing amino sign mode and either an added proto sign mode or textual sign mode, are also needed to support Ledger app. And then there are currently discussions happening around whether we should prioritize the proto sign mode or the textual sign mode. Happy for other input and people leaning in. Looks like we might be going the textual sign mode route. But yeah, these are all changes and discussions happening around meta transactions, transaction tips implementation for the 4.4 release. Also, Tendermint version 3.5 will include mempool prioritization, so improvements to the implementation of the mempool right at the moment. So currently with Tendermint, there's no ordering of transactions other than the order they've arrived. The only way to specify the order is to send them to a single node. If the transactions are split up across different nodes, there's no way to ensure they are processed in the expected order. So the upcoming priority-based mempool will let applications prioritize certain transactions, for example, those with a higher fee, in order to help validators choose the right transactions. So to prioritize, propose this ability to when networks are facing like a heavy load. So to learn more about this, you can check out ADR 067 titled Mempool Refactor. Tendermint 035 will include other breaking changes as well that will need to be addressed within the Cosmos SDK in order to upgrade to v35. So those are the two high priority items in order to support the hub. In addition to that, we're looking at some Gov and group module alignment, which last spring we added an ADR outlining the addition of the group module. This is a module that has been built out inside a Regen ledger initially, and the Cosmos ecosystem, Cosmos community, saw this as an opportunity, as something that they would like to have access to, and we agreed that it should be a standard module in the Cosmos SDK. So it's gone through the ADR process and been accepted. And so the group module, what it does is it allows the creation and management of on-chain multi-sig accounts and enables voting for message execution based on configurable decision policies. So this last month, we started adding the group module to Cosmos SDK. There's a working group focusing on ways to align the Gov and group module with this addition of the group module to the SDK. And this has been broken up into two phases, starting with like some minimal alignment for the next release. And that's what we're talking about here. So currently the Gov module Within it, there are proposals with handlers and routers, and we're planning to deprecate Gov Proposals and replace them with regular messages. The Gov Proposals would include a type and description and a list of messages, and this is how it's implemented within the group module. And so we would all add these 3 new messages that would only be executable by the root of the Gov module. And this is going to allow the Gov module to use auth module to delegate permissions from the root to other working groups managed by the group module. So all those pieces coming together here, hopefully with the addition of the group module and improvements to the Gov module and alignment between the two. So those are the high priority items for the next release to support Cosmos Hub, to support Gravity Bridge Cosmo Hub. But these items here, next priority for version 4.5 or further. These are some other items being discussed in either issues or discussion topics within the Cosmos SDK repository. I'm not going to go into detail on these items, but if you are interested, there are issues and discussions, as I mentioned, that feel free to engage in and provide feedback and get involved. So these other items that we're talking about includes improved app.go wiring, type transactions, support for EIP 5059. We're adding an NFT module to the Cosmos SDK. And so that's an exciting feature that we would have liked to get in 4.4 as well, but it's going to be held off for the next release. Global H32 config, we're going to remove that. Proto v2 codegen, Postgres indexing, SMT integration, ADR 033 app router updates, and then off-bank investing refactor. Currently, the vesting module or packages within the auth module, so we're going to do some refactoring and cleaning up of that. But yeah, those are the items that we're looking at for in the more distant future outside of the next few months. But yeah, if you have any questions about items that I've discussed here in terms of releases or what we're looking at next, feel free to drop them in the chat or go ahead and take yourself off mute. Otherwise, I'm going to go ahead and stop recording here.